and they beautifully blend your dental crown with your teeth. Dr. Jeff uses the newest technology available to provide you with quick and accurate same-day crowns so you don't have to spend any more time in dentist chairs than you need to. Same-day crowns will help you achieve a fuller, healthier smile. Find out more at FargoDentalCare.com, FargoDentalCare.com, or call for a consult today, 298-9400.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. It's 105 on December 4th. Cloudy outside. Temperatures near 30 degrees. We got a full rundown on the forecast for you coming up on the show today. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm. I'm here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki. And if you want to join in on the program, ask some questions or join in the conversation, 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line, or our email inbox. That's weather or ag at flagfamily.com. Also, YouTube and Facebook live chat boxes where we live stream. You can also find us over there on Acres TV. Guys, how you doing? Did you have a good weekend? It's I haven't seen you guys in like 6 days, it feels like. So how are you?
Who are you?
Don't matter who I am. Who are you?
Yeah, long time no see. It's all good out there, though, people. It's going to be a good week.
It was a great weekend if you're a Bison fan. Holy cow. Is all I could say. Wow. I know, you're some other college at,
Yeah, they got
is
kicked
famous
out
for their hockey.
Yeah, hockey's doing good.
Hockey's doing well. But
They
yeah,
I
are.
know when you guys get a
Hockey's
hockey
doing
team.
well.
yeah, Bison. Did you watch the whole game, Bridgette?
Yes, I did. I was rather intently tuned in.
Seemed like a good game.
Block field goal at the
I
end.
didn't watch it, but I heard
Extra
all about
point,
it.
I mean, yeah. It's
Go back
awesome.
and rewatch it.
Yeah. And the guy who blocked it has a limited edition T-shirt now being made in his image with his arm up and the football laces imprint on his arm, because that's how much it hurt when it hit him.
Yeah, take advantage of that situation, no doubt about it. Well, we had some foggy conditions this morning, and this afternoon we're kind of just left over with some cloud cover. There's some thinning of the clouds around the FM area, but a mostly cloudy day. There's a clipper system off to our west. Could bring a few light snow showers to the west of the valley. Not going to see much, if anything, here in the FM area. We'll have highs today in the mid-30s and winds generally light out of the south, which will switch to the north overnight. And we could pull in some more fog from the north tonight. And some of that could be on the dense side. We'll drop down to a low in the upper teens. And then tomorrow is Tuesday. It follows Monday. We're going to have partly cloudy skies and highs mid to upper 30s tomorrow, and then near 50 Wednesday and Thursday of this week. It went 50.
Now, it hasn't been 50 everywhere, because I do have reports of ice thickness in some areas being up to 7 inches, but we're going to need a lot more than that if we want to start taking those ice houses out there. But imagine.
One of my friends out of Franklin, I think it's Franklin Lake, he had 5. He said it was about 5.5 inches thick. They were out ice fishing. I'm like, you're ice fishing on 5 inches? No, thanks.
Oh, that's plenty.
Yeah, I know.
My buddy would go up with an inch and a half.
No.
He's one of those people that would push it where, that limit where it can hold as much weight as you are. He'd be out there fishing.
Yeah, no.
He'd go out with a kayak, and he would sit next to his kayak in case he fell through.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. He'd bring a little boat out with him when he would go ice fishing, because there'd be that little of ice.
Oh, boy. Yeah, don't do that. Don't. But, Bridgette, it has been between 5 and 7 inches in some areas. And at least, the nights are cold enough where we can, at least sustain the ice and build a little more. But, boy, when we're getting temperatures poking up to near 50 for a couple of days, that sure does not help matters any. That's for sure. And then we'll cool down by the end of the week. A clipper system comes in on Friday, bringing us quite a bit of wind, maybe some snow showers, and then cooler for the weekend with highs only around 30 or so, low 30s, which still is above normal for this time of year. The record for Wednesday, 65, and the record for Thursday is 53. So Wednesday, probably not. Thursday, possibly. It'd be kind of close. Unbelievable. And tomorrow we will have our LRC winter weather outlook starting at 2 p.m. on the Jay Thomas Show. Be sure to tune in for that. We'll be breaking down what this winter looks like or doesn't look like, and 40s. We'll give you a clue or a hint. 40s in February.
It's possible.
That sounds nice. So
we've had that before. I mean, it's not exactly common.
Nope.
But we have had it before.
It's possible.
Yeah, but this year is going to be a little different. So, and we'll be running down the details tomorrow, 2 p.m. So make sure to tune in for that.
Looking forward.
Have your questions. We've had some questions emailed to us already. Feel free to email your weather questions, weather@flagfamily.com. And if you have any ag questions regarding the LRC, email those to ag@flagfamily.com as well. We'll be hitting on that as well. And I think we touched on this earlier last week, Bridgette, or maybe earlier last week when Justin was gone, that we had a little meeting with Gary about, what about our ag community and what is this? Are you concerned? And he's like, and what was his exact words? There's some reason to be concerned, but he wouldn't go out on a limb and say how concerned. So we'll be talking about that as well on our LRC special winter weather outlook for tomorrow at 2:00. So we'll be going over all that good stuff.
It's going to be a fun, long day.
It'll be a fun couple hours, and we always like to have our listeners pipe in with questions and
tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, and what would you like out of it? I know that's something Gary said he wants to incorporate a little bit different this year. Is he wants our ag community to kind of pipe in and say, what would you like to see from the LRC? If you're one of his paying customers, what would you like to see different or adding on to what we have already? He kind of wants the input of our ag community. So, yeah, call in. Give us your 2 cents. We'll take it from there.
Yes, indeed. So that's tomorrow.
I hope so. Our ag community is usually a bit of a passive listening group. They want to hear. They don't necessarily want to share as much. So we may have to specifically call out a few folks to ask them for their thoughts. And I'm not afraid of doing that.
No, you're not.
Parker.
Parker, right?
Andrew.
Yep.
So we have a special guest waiting in the wings for today's show, Bridgette. Who's our guest today?
We do. We're going to have Shannon Forester join us. And Shannon is a fairly new cranberry farmer in Minnesota. Normally we think of cranberries in Wisconsin and Michigan, but yes, she's in Minnesota. She sent us some pictures we're going to be able to share as well, showing us all about the production on their cranberry bog. And the most I know about cranberries, they're on a bog. They like some moisture.
They go good.
They have
with
4 little
vodka.
chambers they got 4 little chambers so they float. We got a lot of other questions we're going to have to learn, though. I think Shannon can help.
Is this similar to growing rice at all?
Better ask her.
That'll be one of the questions.
Good question, Dean. Good
I know.
question.
I know.
There you go. Write that down so you don't forget about it.
I'll forget between now and then. Believe me, I'm writing it down.
We know.
We know. Down.
That's because I don't want to be rude. I can just say that it's not Alzheimer's because you don't forget all the time. It's just some timers that Dean can't remember. Some timers.
What did Bonnie say?
Mm-hmm.
Dementia.
Oh, okay.
We're working on it. Hey, what were those 3 words I told you to remember earlier today?
I can't say
not
them
those
on air.
words.
You can say those ones.
No. How about we cover a couple ag topics?
Let's tease on what we got for ag topics coming up on the show. We touched on who our guest is going to be here in about say 6 minutes, but 2 of our ag topics that we'll touch on today is Northeast Africa has preference for U.S. soybeans and also USDA investment to beginning farmers and ranchers. So, Bridgette, which one should we start off with today?
There's a few things going on over in North Africa. Egypt, right? Egypt has sort of had their hands full as of late. But prior to all of that happening, Egypt is really emerging as a preferential customer for U.S. soybeans. And that's good news for us in this region because we could have a different shipping lane, meaning we can ship out through the Great Lakes versus concerns about barge traffic on the Mississippi River with low water levels. Egypt supports about 106 million people as far as a population, but they expect to go to 160 by the year 2050. And they have a strong increasing poultry industry and have made considerable efforts to improve their aquaculture because of the consumption of both fish and chicken. And so in doing that, they are looking at the U.S. to bring in more soybeans from us and really help them out. One advantage that we have, of course, is shipping, but also if you look at South America, who generally raises even more soybeans than we do. South America's soybean growing region is 2,100 miles long from north to south. Ours is only 1,000, but South America is experiencing some incredibly dry weather right now. They are looking at having to plant their soybeans for the second or third time in order to try to get a crop to take. So concerns about what's going to happen in South America, I'm not sure if Gary's prepared to talk about that in the LRC tomorrow, Dean. You might want to let him know that affects us.
I did send him an email saying, hey, we'd like to touch on a topic of South America because that affects the prices up here. So you're reading my mind, Bridgette.
Glad I can help because that is very true.
No, it's Bridgette, not Bonnie.
There are moments.
It's getting to my head.
Man, how about you know what? Let's get out of this and go to the American Ag.
No.
Yes, let's hit the American Ag Network and get our wonderful guest on here sooner than later if we can. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll have Shannon from Minnesota Cranberry. She's a Minnesota Cranberry farmer. She'll be on with us coming up right after the break.
Livestock complex is mixed. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Risvet with this market update. Live cattle futures are under pressure with $1 to $2 losses developing through today. The strong pressure late last week has significantly changed the overall market tone, with prices falling below recent levels starting this morning and continuing throughout the day. This market weakness has not caused additional technical selling pressure to develop, allowing cattle market fundamentals to have less control in directing price moves. Continued weakness in feeder cattle continues to be one of the main drivers of the weakening live cattle complex during early December trade. Cash cattle activity remains quiet, with bids and asking prices not expected until Wednesday or even later. Last week's trade took place through the entire week, with prices $2 to $4 lower, creating underlying softness in the market. Further pressure in futures trade and beef values could make steady cash markets a long shot, but the hope is that market conditions will quickly change through the week. Box beef prices are lower, choice down 182 and select down 163 with a movement of 80 loads. Now as for the hogs, light to moderate gains have trickled into most lean hog futures today. The underlying support in the complex is based on a lack of attention in the hog complex, with most of the selling pressure today diverted to the cattle markets. Hog prices are lower on the daily direct morning hog report, down 57 cents with a weighted average of $56.22. We'll get a look at the livestock numbers next. You're listening to the American Ag Network.
The North Dakota Crop Improvement and Seed Association is leading the way, empowering farmers, granting them access to revolutionary genetics. Our mission is to equip farmers with state-of-the-art seed varieties with proven robust agronomic traits, including high yield, ideal test weight, rich protein content, and formidable disease resistance. All the while, we remain committed to preserving superior end-use quality. Witness the future of farming unfold at ndcropimprovement.com. Is leading the way, empowering farmers, granting them access to revolutionary genetics. Our mission is to equip farmers with state-of-the-art seed varieties with proven robust agronomic traits, including high yield, ideal test weight, rich protein content, and formidable disease resistance. All the while, we remain committed to preserving superior end-use quality. Witness the future of farming unfold at ndcropimprovement.com.
Let's get a look at the livestock numbers. Live cattle December down 215 at 167.12. February down 195 at 167.17. April down 195 at 169.67. And the June live cattle, they're down 147 at 166.07. Feeders January down 377 at 210.65. March down 357 at 213.65. Lean hogs December down 2 dimes at 68.40. February up 60 at 70.70. And the April lean hogs, they're up a buck at 77.37. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, where some days we're more in focus than others. Justin and I are on it today. And we wanted to make sure to say a big thank you to ND Estate Services because of all the great work that they do for each one of us when it comes to planning our futures. You want to take a complicated process, work with Mark at ND Estate Services to make it much more simple. He can help you to have peace of mind, such as avoiding some probate, protecting guardianship, saving taxes, and most importantly, just making the process much simpler and easier to get through. You can reach Mark at 701-318-0908 or visit ndestateservices.com. And our guest today might not need estate services yet because I think she's just getting into all of this, just getting started. So, folks, please welcome Shannon Forester. She is a cranberry farmer in Minnesota. Shannon, how are you?
How are you today?
We are great. This is going to be so much fun. Thank you for joining us. Tell us about your operation. What's going on in Minnesota that we should know?
Thank you so much for having me. Our season is just wrapping up here. We finished up our harvest a little bit later than normal, but we were done the middle of November. So we're just gearing up for the winter here.
Okay. What does winter look like for cranberry farming? And is that the only thing that you raise?
No, so we farm cranberries is a big part of our operation by acreage, though. We're only 50 acres of cranberries. We also have soybeans, some grain farming, and we also farm wild rice as well. So winter for cranberries specifically, after the harvest is done, as soon as we pull the water off of the fields, the plants instantly go into dormancy. And then they sit kind of just like open and empty for a couple months. Coming up in December here, as soon as we get a cold snap of weather, we'll flood the cranberries again. We'll create a layer of ice over the cranberries, and then we'll drain the water from underneath the ice. And this will protect the vines from the wind and cold temperatures throughout the chilly northern Minnesota winter.
And Shannon, is there a big difference in? You said you have rice as well, rice and cranberries. Is there a difference?
Yep.
A big difference between the two? Raising them?
There's a big difference in like what the plant needs itself. But the big commonality between the two is that we both need to be able to control water within the fields. So that's why our property is perfectly set up to raise both. Most of our land is completely separated into like 30-acre or less sections. And they're all controlled with control culverts so that we can control how much water is in the fields at a specific time of the year. So I would say that's the biggest similarity. The other thing, cranberries need a very low pH to grow. So very common, a lot of peat land, peat marshes is what cranberries strive in. And wild rice is very similar in that way too, with the high nitrogen of peat soil. So that's another similarity, but there are big differences in the way that we manage them.
So I got one here, and it's kind of how does the growing cycle work when it comes to cranberries? You said water levels are important to it. Do the cranberries need to sit in water for the entire growing period, or is it just for harvesting? What's that look like from start to end?
Absolutely. So the biggest misconception of cranberries is that they do not grow in water. I know Ocean Spray kind of with our Ocean Spray commercials kind of like set the idea that they're underwater, but for a majority of the growing season, they do grow dry. So I'll start, I guess, at the beginning of the growing season, starts about May when the plants start to come out of dormancy. That's when that layer of ice that we put on throughout the winter will melt. The cranberries will go back to their natural state. They're in a dry environment. They need to be able to drain. That's like the biggest thing that cranberries like is to be able to drain the water that they get. So they'll grow dry throughout May, June. June is when they're flowering. Towards the end of June is when they will start to flower. They'll set berries and grow throughout July, August. They'll start green. They don't start turning red until beginning of September. Throughout September is when they will grow in size, and then also that deep red color. And then we'll flood them usually end of September. Throughout October is the harvest season. And that's the only time of the year that they will stay flooded, I'd say for the longest period of time. So cranberries do need a ton of water, but they need to be able to drain. And then for the harvest, of course, we do use a wet harvest. That's not across the board for the cranberry industry. There is still dry harvest of cranberries. Majority of the bigger commercial farms use water, of course. So the longest period that they're usually flooded, depending on the variety, is 10 days at a time. So they do not grow in water, but we need a lot of water and be able to control when we're putting that water on throughout the season.
So they're thirsty, but they don't like wet feet, is what you're telling me.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so Justin had a great question there as far as about the growing cycle, but I'm going to add a little bit more of the agronomy to it. So are you doing anything to supplement fertility? Because they like so much moisture, do you have any disease control concerns? What's that cycle look like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in kind of a niche spot here in Minnesota. So because we're the only cranberry farm in Minnesota, we don't get a lot of the cranberry popular pests that you would get throughout Wisconsin or Cape Cod area. So in that sense, we're very lucky. We use the water a little bit for pest management throughout the spring. There's a small window of time where it's warm enough that there's no ice on the plant and the frost is out of the ground. And then before they start growing, come out of their dormancy process, there's a small window that we can flood the fields and leave them submerged to help with pest management, also weed management. There's a small window of time that they can sit underwater at that period. But once they come out of dormancy, they can no longer sit underwater. We do have an irrigation system that is put out as soon as the ice comes off the fields in the spring. That irrigation system we use for several different reasons. One, of course, from heat, watering them, but we also use that for our frost protection. Once a cranberry plant comes out of dormancy, it can't freeze, both to protect the bud and to protect the berry itself. So from May through the time that the fields are picked or harvested, they cannot freeze. We turn our irrigation system on at 37 degrees because there is frost formation in the beds. Because they're a little bit lower, they do get a little bit colder than like your temperature gauge on the top of the fields. So we use that irrigation system throughout the year in that way as well to make sure that the fields don't get below 32 degrees where the cranberry cell will explode from frost.
So they're a perennial, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So what's the longevity of one of those? Like if I think about an established alfalfa field, it's going to be there for a while. But how many years of service, if you will, are you going to get out of a cranberry plant?
So rule of thumb, I mean, cranberries are going to grow as long as you take care of them. They're native to North America. They're native to Minnesota here, throughout Wisconsin, where they grow. That being said, to stay kind of upwards in the market, they can go, I would say probably the average of like 30 years we maybe process out. But I mean, I definitely know throughout Wisconsin, I mean, there's fields that are 100 years old plus. Wow. So as long as they're taken care of, they will continue to grow. Our fields are relatively new. Ours weren't planted until the late 90s. So we have a few more years in our fields. As the kind of the science of cranberries has changed as well, we're coming out with a lot more hybrid cranberries rather than your native varieties to our area. So as the hybrids come out, of course, higher yields is what people are going for. So those are starting to process back in. They've been around for a while now in like the Wisconsin Midwest area, but you're going to be seeing a lot more coming up.
You had mentioned that you're the only cranberry farm in Minnesota. Was that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yep.
So if they're from around these parts, why don't other people grow cranberries? Why are you the only one in Minnesota? I don't know if there's a reason for that or if it's just something that's difficult that they mainly do over in Wisconsin or...
Yeah, so I don't have like a specific answer to that, but I will say our farm was developed, the cranberry portion of our farm was developed actually about a company out of Massachusetts, AD Makepeace. They're the largest cranberry farm in North America. They farm over 1,000 acres of cranberries out there. And they came to Minnesota to get as close to Wisconsin, but then also develop like more land in the Midwest. Of course, real estate is a lot cheaper than throughout like New England. So they came out here, they had done all of the land formation to transform the farm into a working cranberry farm. They had plans to put upwards of 500 acres here. And at that time, in the early 2000s, the cranberry market crashed and it was super unpredictable. Nobody really knew what the ocean spray and what the future of that looked like. So the company kind of pulled out of the deal, sold the farm on auction, and that's how my family ended up with it. So I guess our land is perfect here to grow them. And I think that we've proved that to be. It's a really tough market to get into because it is so small. All of our cranberries, we have contracts with Ocean Spray, grower-owned cooperative. So with that, it's hard to get into. But also, it's extremely expensive to start into the process because we need control culverts. All of our fields are we have 2 12-acre fields, and then the rest are split into 4-acre sections. So with that, you need the ability to store water. We have a 100-acre man-made reservoir in the center of our property. We have a pumping system that we can recycle the water from all parts of our farm. We have almost 2,000 acres of land total. 1,000 of that is mostly just water support land. So there's those huge, high dollar costs to be able to grow them. Also, planting vines are very expensive and they do last a long time, but the return on investment is usually a 5-year minimum before when you plant the crop to when you can actually pull a full crop off of that is 5 years. So the return on investment, you need to have a little bit of time. Through that 5 years, though, you have to be fertilizing, you have to have the water, which every time you move water, that's another cost. So you have to have the labor to take care of them, keep the weeds down in the field. So there's a lot of costs that go into it before you can pull a full crop off of it. So those, I guess, are some of the main reasons. But we'll see in the future here. I don't know if there's plans for anybody else to move this direction, but we definitely have the land for it. And we definitely have the ability to grow them in the climate.
Interesting. We got to hit bottom of the hour news really quick. So we're going to take a short moment. When we come back, we'll rejoin this conversation with Shannon Forester. She's a cranberry grower over in Minnesota. If you want to join in on this conversation, got some questions you want to ask her, 701-293-9000 is the Red Wing Shoes phone line. Feel free to give us a call. Again, that number, 701-293-9000, or emails weather-or-ag@flagfamily.com. Stay tuned. After local news, we'll be right back.
Has been standing on the front lines of the pro-life movement since 1986 and addresses mom and baby as a whole. The Perry Center exists to prepare women for motherhood in a place they can find healing, be renewed, and receive new hope for their future. Would you stand with us to empower women to choose life by financially supporting your local pro-life maternity home by going to perrycenter.org? That's perrycenter.org. Thank you.
Ready to upgrade your future in just 2 short years? With over 90 high-demand career pathways, North Dakota State College of Science empowers you to dive straight from college to your career. And guess what?
I'm attending tuition free.
Many of our students are getting a quality education without the student debt hangover.
In Wahpeton, Fargo, or online.
NDSCS delivers great campus life, sports, esports, and performing arts. So why wait? Schedule a campus visit today. NDSCS, the smarter way to college.
Good afternoon, I'm Tom Tucker, WDAY News First. Fargo residents will cast ballots tomorrow on the proposed $140 million expansion and remodel of the Fargo Dome. The measure includes a 1/4-cent increase in the local sales tax and a 3% increase in the city lodging tax over 20 years. The measure needs 60% approval to pass. The polling locations are the Fargo Dome, the Ramada, and the Civic Center. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. A Fargo man is in custody after authorities say he crashed his vehicle into the construction site at the Island Park Pool. Police say Matthew Thomas crashed through a fence at the site at 1st Avenue South and 7th Street South just after 2 o'clock Sunday morning. Authorities say Thomas was taken to a nearby healthcare facility and was charged with DUI. The attorney for former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin says Chauvin has been released from the hospital and returned to federal prison in Arizona. Chauvin was stabbed nearly 24 times by an inmate at the Tucson prison last month. Chauvin's attorney says his client's family is very concerned about the prison's ability to protect the former officer following the attack. Chauvin was sentenced to more than 20 years in federal prison as part of a plea deal connected to the death of George Floyd in 2020. Tom Tucker, WDAY, and WDAYRadioNow.com.
Yes, we'd rather install new windows in your home when it's a windless, sunny, and mild 80 degrees.
But if we only installed windows and doors on windless, sunny, and mild 80-degree days in Fargo, we'd only be able to work 3 days a year. I'm Jaden.
And I'm Andrew from the Window and Door Store in Fargo. Our team of professional installers install windows and doors all winter long.
Unless there's a blizzard or extremely cold weather, then we make the boys some coffee or hot chocolate and catch up on what's new in windows and doors.
This is a good time to have one of our highly trained window and door specialists take a look at your home.
We don't care if you want to replace just a couple of windows now.
And maybe replace the rest sometime in the future. We always do what you want to do.
The Window and Door Store in Fargo offers no obligation, no pressure estimates.
We'll meet you when it works best for you, after work, on the weekends, or over coffee.
Call us, the Window and Door Store in Fargo.
701-205-0110. Better windows, better doors, the Window and Door Store.
This is Mark Wagner at ND Estate Services. I want to thank all the listeners out there and just really wishing you a very Merry Christmas. God bless you. Have a Happy New Year. Encouraging you to give your family the gift of avoiding probate at death, eliminating legal guardianship when you're incapacitated, saving taxes, protecting their inheritance. Find out more at ndestateservices.com. 701-318-0908.
This is Weather and Ag in Focus with Bridgette Readel, Justin Storm, and Dean Wysocki.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus, 1:36 in the afternoon. Our special guest today, Shannon Forester. She's a Minnesota cranberry farmer. And Shannon, so we had a couple of email questions that came in to our ag account here, and a couple of the questions here: what does a dry harvest look like versus flooding a bog?
Yeah, so the field you do flood a little bit. So the water comes up just above the vine. The vine density is usually about like 6 inches. So there's a dry harvest picker, and it's about, I would say, about 2 feet wide, and you walk the picker up and down the field, and that 2 foot passes. Usually these fields are between like an acre, usually a maximum of 5. Like I said, our largest field is 12. So it really just depends on size, but within probably under 15 acres, and you walk 2 feet at a time, walk the length of the field. There's a little bit of a comb on the front of this machine. That comb will gently just rake the cranberries off of the vine. They'll go up a little conveyor and go into a gunny sack. And then from the gunny sack, they're carried by hand out of the field into some sort of like onto a trailer. All of the fresh fruit is harvested that way. So anytime like in your grocery store and you have fresh fruit, fresh cranberries, that's all usually picked dry harvest.
So this is all manually done.
I'm envisioning this is like a tiny potato harvester, right? Except you don't have a truck, you have a gunny sack. Okay. Wow, that is specialized.
I guess I don't know if there's certain situations that would go for one over the other, but is there a benefit to doing it one way or another, whether or not it's a dry or a wet harvest? Is there some big difference between there that most people are like, oh yeah, we do it this way for this reason?
Most of your large scale cranberry farms is completely wet harvest. We really utilize that ability for that berry to float. That makes things a lot easier. You can use Mother Nature, you can use the wind a lot easier to move the cranberries from one side of the field to the other. With the dry harvest, it's a little bit softer on the berry, so a little more gentle. That's why they use it for that fresh fruit harvest, because it's a little bit gentler on the fruit itself. But even with a wet harvest, this is the method we use. Both of the fields are flooded just above the vines. And then as a wet harvest, we'll go in with what we call a beating machine. I know I had a picture in here that I sent in of that machine. And it's just a reel that is very soft, and it just rolls over the cranberry vines and gently just knocks the berries off in the water. And then after that, so we'll go through with that machine. Our feeding machine is about 10 feet wide. There's also another machine called a harrow, which is kind of similar. It just uses their little fingers that they just put weight onto the vine and knock them off. But similar situation. So you go through the whole field like that, and then we'll flood the fields the rest of the way. So we'll add another 2 feet of water to get the berries to float the rest of the way. So I guess, in theory, it's just a little bit softer on the vines itself, but then the berry as well to pick them by dry harvest. But like I said, it's a lot more time consuming, a lot more labor intensive because you don't use those Mother Nature elements.
Right. So when you're moving all this water, I believe you said you had a 100-acre reservoir at the center of your farm. You pump your 13-acre field full of water. How long and how much water is required to fill that up to where you can do your wet harvest on the cranberries? And then I guess along with that, I don't know if there's much of a difference, but it seems like anytime somebody wants to move water, there's regulations or paperwork that needs to be done. Does that apply for cranberry farming?
Yeah, so I wish I had numbers for you of how much water it really took. Yes, we do have a 100-acre man-made lake in the center of our property. That water is all recycled. So like I said before, we are wild rice farmers as well. So we can recycle that water. We recycle the water from the snow melt. But we also have the ability to get water if we needed it to. We're Mississippi frontage. We have a Logan that comes into our property as well. So those are other elements that if we needed to get water that way, we can get it that way. So the farm is also set up with a series of canals. So we try to use gravity as much as we can, just helps with our cost because if we can move it by gravity, it's a lot cheaper than if we were to pump it like manually with our tractor pumps or electric pumps. So I wish I had numbers of how much water it took, but to put it in perspective, we have 2 12-acre fields and then we have 5 4-acre fields. So we farm just almost 50 acres, but those fields, they need to be flooded to harvest about 2.5 feet of water from the level of the bog itself. There's drainage canals throughout the larger fields. So we have ditches throughout as well in the fields. So I don't have numbers for you, but it's quite a bit of water. If we were to use a 16-inch tractor pump, it's at least probably 24 hours of pumping straight out of our canal.
Wow.
And Shannon, obviously with all the water that's available for you, do you ever have to worry about drought conditions?
Yes and no. We do farm other things other than cranberries.
Right.
Because we have that reservoir, though, that has helped us. Because we can store the water, we always prepare for drought conditions. And then we have that irrigation system in the cranberries. And then we also have that storage pond. So we do have to be concerned. There's been times that we've been a little bit nervous if we're going to have enough water. But luckily, because of the ability to move water from pretty much anywhere onto the farm to another area, we can recycle most of it. So if we have enough water to flood one 12-acre field, we'll just delay flooding multiple fields at a time. We can recycle, we can move that water from one 12-acre field to the other, down more canals to get to the other part where the other 4-acre fields are. So we can recycle the water. That is a huge advantage, almost completely necessary to farming, and especially because of the irregularity of when we know we're going to have water and not.
I just ran some quick numbers on a 12-acre square, 2.5 feet deep is just shy of 10.6 million gallons of water.
Wow.
It's a lot of water.
Yes.
That's a lot of water.
To just touch on your question, though, about regulation, we do have wetland permits for ours. We've had them as long as we've had the farm, and we also have those rights to be able to pump out of the Mississippi if we need to. So there are regulation. I suppose that's another issue with starting a farm like this in Minnesota, is that ability to get those water rights, which we have. So and of course we need those to be able to run our operation.
So Shannon, you mentioned Ocean Spray, and I see the logo on your shirt. You're shipping to Ocean Spray. How far is that? Are you shipping by truck? Are they sacked? Are they just open in the back of a truck like corn? I'm just trying to get a feel for, once they leave the bog, where are they headed to?
So, like I said, all of our cranberries go to Ocean Spray. Our receiving station is in Tomah, Wisconsin. It's about 300 miles from our farm. We really pride ourselves. We're 100% family sustainable. So we do all of our own trucking. My mom actually does all of our trucking for us. So they're loaded into the back of just a regular semi-trailer, about 40,000 pounds. And then she will move all of the cranberries to Tomah for us. That's a huge advantage because it's such a long ways to travel, that 300 miles, that we don't have to line up truck drivers and have them there at the right time. Like when our trucks are loaded, we can time our schedule a little bit easier with her doing our trucking. So when the truck is loaded, she can take off with it. Sometimes, of course, that's in the middle of the night, and we try not to put that on her, but that's a huge advantage to us.
And your berries are all going to Ocean Spray for juice, not fresh berries. Would that be correct?
Yep, all of ours get processed into juice or craisins in Tomah. So when they get to Tomah, they're cleaned a little bit more. We do have a cleaning machine that we use on the farm, and that's how we load them. But they're cleaned more, processed out, and then they are actually put into freezers. And then Ocean Spray from there will freeze them and then make them into juice and craisins.
So if you wanted to start another field, how would you plant cranberries? It's probably not from tiny seeds, but are you hand planting and little tiny live transplants, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so like I said, our farm was actually developed for 500 acres, and we only have 50 of growing cranberries. So we have the ability to expand if the market allowed us to within Ocean Spray. So the first thing, the fields are completely laser leveled, and they have to be that, of course, to be able to drain the water out of them. So I guess that's our first step. We do have the acreage set up to do it. So right now we would completely strip the land. We would have to bring in sand. All of the cranberries have a 6 to 8 inch layer of sand on the bed itself, of course, for drainage, and then that also acidic environment that it needs to grow in. So that's peat underneath usually, and then you add your layer of sand. So from there you have a completely bare field. Then you go through with plug cranberry vines and you plant them all by hand. When we've planted before, we use a manure spreader. So they're in bales, just like you would your straw square bales. Tear them apart, you put them in your manure spreader and then spread them out. And then you have people walking behind that machine and slowly just pushing those vines into the ground. From there, they'll set off their root system and then grow from there. And of course, there's a lot of care that needs to go into them. The cranberries can't dry out or the bud won't set into a root. So those cranberry vines going up to being planted need to be completely not submerged in water, but they need to have be constantly being irrigated. And then once they're on the field, immediately they need to start being irrigated. So that's another one of those big expenses that go into planting a new field.
And Shannon, you had mentioned a couple of times the peat soil. Is this specific to your area? Did you have to ship in the peat soil? I know you said you have to put sand down there to, with the pH and adjusting that, but are there only certain parts of the country that have this peat soil?
So we did not ship in. I guess, of course, I wasn't involved in the formation of the vines, but the peat was actually natural to our property there. So it didn't have to be shipped in. I know I visited from a network of cranberry farmers throughout the country. In some areas, you do have to ship it in. And that's just that acidic soil is very important to cranberries. Cranberries need to grow in a pH, I would say average around 5, not more than 6 though for a pH. So it has to be in that acidic environment. So it is native to our area. That's Wisconsin is made of peat marshes. So that's a huge asset. And then also the sand. So we don't have any sand on our property. We do have to haul in our sand. There's also a ritual adding sand every 4 or 5 years just to rejuvenate the cranberry plant itself. So you'll go in, add a 1/2 inch to 1 inch layer of sand, and that'll just help with setting new roots, getting new uprights, to, of course, just take care of the vine health.
See, we had an email question come in wondering if cranberry farmers ever have to worry about demand dropping due to overseas tariffs, like what happened to apples a while back ago and everyone just had a surplus. Do cranberry farmers worry about problems like that at all?
Working with, I only have, because of 100% of our crop goes to Ocean Spray, being able to work with them, they do a really good job like controlling all of that. I'm a little bit involved in what happens to them afterwards, but we leave that up to Ocean Spray. I know as long as I've been involved in the business, the market has been extremely stable for us, and that working with Ocean Spray gives us that advantage. Being that grower-owned cooperative, Ocean Spray is 100% owned by farmers, so there's 700 families that join, are members of the cooperative. So being in that cooperative has extreme safe haven for us. We really enjoy working with them, and so they handle a lot of the global issues like that. But as long as I've been involved in the business, it's been very comfortable for us.
All right. Well, Shannon, thanks very much for jumping on here and talking to us about what it takes to grow cranberries to our neighbors over in Minnesota. We appreciate that. Do you got any social media or anything like that if someone wants to follow along what it takes for cranberries to make it year in to year out, that they could go visit to see some of that material?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page and an Instagram page, both under Minnesota Cranberry Company. I try to update that as much as I can. So if you just want to follow our family story and our farm story, that's the best way to find us, is Minnesota Cranberry Company on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Well, Shannon Forester, thanks very much for joining us today. We got another check on the forecast as well as another ag topic when we come back, and as well any questions that you may have on the Red Wing Shoes phone line. That's 701-293-9000. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Brr, sounds like winter out there.
Did you just say?
Yep, they sure did, and it's coming. Hi, I'm Matthew, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. Winter's on the way, and it's time to get ready, including getting new all-weather tires designed specifically for our icy winter weather. Take advantage of our current rebates and availability, and our team can have you ready for winter today. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, a Pfizer vaccine.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
West Funeral Home in your difficult time.
For over 100 years, families of the Red River Valley have turned to West Funeral Home. Our mission is to care for grieving families with the utmost of compassion and loved ones with dignity and grace. To learn more about us, visit our website at westfuneralhome.com. Discover the difference.
West Funeral Home and Life Tribute Center. Little things make the difference.
Bonjour! Let Reed Event Center at Reese and Riley's Olive Oil and Bistro Bar in Moorhead host your next party, reunion, or corporate gathering, featuring an exquisite Mediterranean culinary experience with local ingredients and fresh handmade pasta, including gluten-free options. Casual or formal, Reed Event Center offers a unique and sophisticated experience. For bookings, call Reed Event Center at 218-303-1279 or visit reeseandrileys.com. Bon appetit!
Get ready for a heartwarming experience with Legacy Plumbing and Heating. At Legacy, our mission is simple: to provide the best plumbing and heating experience in town, while also being dedicated to serving our community.
You can make a difference today by nominating a family in need for a brand new furnace thanks to Legacy Plumbing and Heating with the Warm Heart, Warm Home Initiative. Visit WDAYradionow.com today and nominate someone in need.
Remember, Life flows better with Legacy. Join us in spreading warmth and love this season of giving.
Border Planes Equipment, a certified Case IH dealer, is on the lookout for a dynamic and motivated service manager in Williston. If you're ready to lead a team, efficiently process repair orders, and contribute to a successful marketing plan, Border Planes Equipment wants to hear from you. Enjoy competitive wages, a 401k retirement plan, health, dental, and vision insurance, and more. Email your resume to hr@planesag.com. Border Planes Equipment is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Hey, neighbor, what's going on?
Just standing in my driveway with my new snowblower from Lakeland General Store.
You know, there's no snow forecasted for the week.
Wait, is that a flake?
I don't see anything.
This Toro Power Max 826 can handle anything winter throws at us, so I've got to be ready.
Mind if I stand out here and wait with you?
Welcome to the team.
Are you ready to move some snow? Make it easy with Toro snowblowers from Lakeland General Store. Big box selection with small store know-how. Highway 59 and online at lakelandgeneralstore.com.
Weather and Ag in Focus on WDAY Radio.
Hey folks, time is almost up. Make sure you get your nominations in this week for Legacy Plumbing's promotion, Warm Heart, Warm Home. If you have someone in need who needs furnace replaced in the Castor-Clay County area, go to our website, click on the Hot Links button, and nominate that family today so we can make sure that their furnace is replaced so they stay warm all winter long. We have a question from a listener. Dennis is on line 1. Dennis, what's your question?
Well, thanks for taking my call. Say, my dog and I are regular listeners, and we're wondering if your winter LRC forecast is going to be as inaccurate as your summer one was.
Oh, what do you think, guys?
Wow.
I mean, it could be.
Well, Dennis, why don't you call tomorrow, and we'll go over that with you. How do you feel? How do you feel that it was inaccurate this summer?
Well, let's put it this way: my dog can save you.
Save us from what?
Save you from making another mistake.
Your dog's name isn't Lexi, is it?
No, it's Miko.
Miko.
He's 100% accurate with his weather forecasting, 100%, and he only charges $1,000 an hour.
Really?
Oh.
Wow, we got to check this kid out.
So what's the dog? How's the dog do the forecasting?
It's real simple. You put him outside, he doesn't want to come back in. It's nice. You put him outside, he comes right back in, and it's cold. You put him outside, and he comes back in wet. It's raining or snowing. And if you put him outside, and he comes back in, and his coat is all ruffled up, it's very windy. 100% accurate to this day. And he's 7 years old.
What kind of dog?
Man-eating killer toy poodle.
Oh. Well,
he'd love to meet you.
I bet he would.
But I would strongly suggest you do a finger count before you meet him.
Uh-oh.
Well, I still got 9, so I think I'll be okay.
You can survive with 8.
Yeah, I can lose 1 or 2 more.
Good luck tomorrow, guys and gals.
Hey, thanks, Dennis. Appreciate the phone call.
Sure if
I was wondering which direction that was going to turn.
Not sure if he was serious or that was sarcasm, but
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah, a little bit.
There we go.
I think there was salt behind the dog.
That's well. Call in tomorrow.
I like it though.
Hey,
I like it.
Is he friends with JT? Is he friends with JT?
He might be friends with JT.
He might be friends with JT.
Take this, JT. All right, let's do a check on the forecast and get out of here.
Yeah, we've got mostly cloudy skies for the rest of the afternoon. There's a little clipper system moving through, giving us a few light snow showers down to our south. Nothing to worry about. Some patchy fog tonight. The good news is we're 50 by Wednesday and Thursday.
Speak for yourself.
And then a couple of clipper systems coming in between Friday and early next week with a chance for snow. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show. It's coming up next. We'll see you tomorrow for our LRC Outlook.